Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 75337, ATTE Walker from the LEGO Star Wars theme. This set contains 1,082 pieces, 8 minifigures, and will retail for $139.99 in the US. This set does not officially release until August 1st, 2022, but it was sent to me early by the LEGO group through the LEGO Ambassador Network, but all opinions expressed in this video are my own. Before I get started, I'd just like to ask you guys to please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I have early reviews of more August 2022 LEGO Star Wars sets coming very soon. I have more early August 2022 Star Wars reviews coming soon, as well as some other very exciting stuff in a couple weeks. So if you're interested in any of that, by liking and subscribing, I'll help put it in your feed as soon as it's posted, and also really help support me in the channel. But with all that being said, let's get on to the review. So here is the main build of the set, the ATT itself. And full disclosure, I am not a Clone Trooper guy. I was a very big Star Wars fan growing up, but I was more an original trilogy person. I like the prequels enough, but I've never watched the Clone Wars TV show all the way through, so I don't really have the nostalgic connection that a lot of people have to this vehicle. However, with all that being said, I actually really love this set. I wasn't expecting very much from it. I was kind of just expecting big, gray, generic Star Wars vehicle. But no, having it all built up, I really love it. So let's go through every aspect of it. You can see surrounding the driver's seat, there's 4 total turrets, 2 on each side. And these are all these large ball joints can be rotated individually. So you can have them all like aim at an enemy. And these large ball joints are not like new pieces or anything, but I feel like LEGO doesn't use them enough because they're really cool and really effective, and I feel like they're great both for display and for play. So I think those fit in really well here. There's some little headlights in the front, and then you have the one splash of color on this build, this bit of red. And then if you actually want to access the driver's seat, you can pull on this red door right here, and that'll actually allow you to remove it from the front of the build. With that removed, you can see it's very open and empty back there, but it comes out in this little build that has these 2 control sticks and this tan seat, so you can sit a minifigure down on there, and they can be actually looking out the front of the vehicle. So for example, I could put one of the Clone Troopers that comes in the set in there, and then I can slide them back into the full vehicle. I think this is actually a very smooth connection system to get a character into that cockpit. There's no like very obviously removable pieces, so I feel like at the very least the front of the build still feels very complete and enclosed. And yeah, look, it looks great in there. Moving up above, you can see the top of the driver's seat, as well as this very large cannon on the top. This is huge and over-exaggerated, but I think it looks great and fits in really well. This is on a hinge, so it can be angled up or down, and the entire thing's on a rotating disc, so you can point it any direction you want. Obviously, this big nozzle itself doesn't shoot, but there is 2 stud shooters in the back, so you can imitate it shooting. They're the newer 2022 stud shooters, and if somehow you've never seen them before, you just push down on them, and 2 studs will shoot out. You can see there's also a seat in the very back for the gunner to actually sit. There's no studs or anything, so if you're like toppling this thing over, the gunner will still fall out, but you can slide him in really nicely, or I guess any other minifigure that you want. Now moving to the panels on the side of the vehicle, you can see there's the Galactic Republic logo right there, as well as another sticker that just shows some like damage and rust on the vehicle. There's a total of 4 of these panels, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. And they're all mostly the same, just with the stickers slightly different, and the back ones don't have that Galactic Republic logo. Then on the top of the back, you have more of these large gray panels. Again, just stickers to add some detail. Here's the one on the other side too. And then on the very back of the build, you have 2 more of those turrets on ball joints. We'll take a look at how those panels actually open up and what the interior looks like in a moment, but first I want to finish talking about the exterior. So this vehicle has a total of 6 legs, 2 front, 2 middle, and 2 back. The front and back legs are pretty much all identical, but the middle ones are bigger and built quite different. I absolutely love like the whole suspension system of this build. It's really impressive how like sturdy it is, but also just like the posability options. It's not like, say, a Ninjago mech where it's just on ball joints and you can pose and hope it balances. Like, no, the legs just sort of hang loose, and if they're standing on something, they get locked in place. But this allows you to sort of pose it like climbing up things if you wanted. But here, you can see this front leg can swing ever so slightly forward and back, and then the foot at the very bottom can swing quite a bit. Now naturally it'll just hang directly down. There's no way to like lock it in place up here, but you can see you could have it like standing up on something, and I think that's super cool. You can see that's the same thing on the other side. And these legs do look very mechanical, like there's open technicals and everything. However, I think that actually works for this build, like considering what this build's supposed to be. And I appreciate that even though there is a lot of Technic shown, none of it is ugly Technic. There's no bright blue or bright red. Like the most colorful it gets is this tan right here. But everything still feels like it fits in the color scheme. So even though the Technic does feel very mechanical, that mechanical look does actually fit this build, so I don't mind it as much as I usually would. And here's a look at the articulation on the back legs. You can see it just swings back and forth, and again, that foot can swing a lot. But yeah, again, all 4 front and back legs are pretty much the same. And then the center legs are really interesting because they have so much articulation. I think part of it's because the vehicle doesn't need the center legs to stay balanced. The front and back legs are more than enough, so you can just lift these off the ground. But you can see the entire leg can swing back and forth really far. It's actually quite impressive like how much this can move. And then the foot at the bottom, once again, can swing back and forth and actually rotate 360 degrees. And it can also be moved in and out. So you can have the foot, like, kick out if you want. Now, I don't know, like, how many of these foot positions would actually make sense for this vehicle in universe, but there's just so many options here, and I just love how smooth this movement is. Again, same thing on the other side. Everything is just super loose, just swings back and forth. But again, I just love it. Now, in the center of the vehicle's back, there's actually this handle right here that you can pull out and pick it up. And I think this actually does a really good job to demonstrate the versatility of the legs on this build. So if I pick it up like this, right, the legs are all just sort of hanging there, I can wiggle it around, dangle them, but when I pop it back down, it still lands entirely correct. And that, in my opinion, is super amazing, that it's all so loose, but you don't have to, like, intricately pose it anytime you want to display it. You just plop it on the ground, and it stays good. Again, yeah, if I turn around, other side, that's good too. This guy falls out, though, as I mentioned. And when it is flat on the ground, there is a little bit of movement you can get and keep with these middle legs. Because you can see I can have it more back or more forward, and it will stay like that on the ground, or I prefer just have it in the center. But I think it's so fun that I can just pick this up, and, like, imagine I'm a kid and I'm playing with it, and I'm just, like, walking it around, and then suddenly I have to go do something else, I just drop it, and it plops right into place. That is my absolute favorite part of this build, and it's what made me really appreciate it. But that's about it for the exterior, so now let's move inside. There's a few ways to get to the inside. Starting with the front, you can sort of hinge open the front panels, fold them up, and then move them back. And you can see that gives you some visibility into the interior. Of course, same thing with the other side. But then also, if you want to go top down, you can flip this whole turret section up. And then here's a look at the full interior in the front of the build. You can see there's 2 proper seats to hold minifigures. And then this right here, this is a removable little accessory stand. This one has 2 printed thermal detonators on it. And there's a matching one on the other side, which holds a crate, and if you open it up, inside there are some white binoculars. These 2 just attach in these double jumper pieces, and you'll see those in other parts of the build too, so you can very easily move them around if you want, or entirely remove them if you're not a fan. So in total, in this part of the floor section, there is 2 full seats for clone troopers. However, I definitely think you could fit at least 1 or 2 more in here, because, like, there's this black 4x4 area in the back where you could probably stand one up. And then if you remove the thermal detonators or the crate, you might be able to fit 1 or 2 more. Yep, actually with the crate and thermal detonators removed, there's how it looks at 5 clone troopers in there, and I think I still should be able to close all this up. Yep, it closes up just fine with all those guys in there. So in terms of actual seats, it fits 2, but you could very easily fit 5 actual clone troopers in there. Very cool. And then one last thing with the front interior before moving to the back. This little piece that holds the clone trooper seats can actually be removed. It's not actually connected on any studs or anything, it just slides right out. And that's how it looks, it just has 2 seats and a little wrench. I'm not sure why that's removable, I'm not necessarily complaining, but it's just a bit strange, I guess. Alright, and now coming to the back of the vehicle, once again, the panels on the side can be hinged open. And this, once again, gives you access to this part of the interior. However, to access it from the top, it is a little bit different. This back panel and this top panel are connected, and you do have to separate them, but they come apart really easily, and they can fold the back panel back and the top panel up. And then you get a pretty good view of the interior here. So in here you have 5 total, like, actual seats. More of those jumper pieces. One by default has nothing on it, but I guess you could add your own weapon rack there. And then there is another weapon rack back here, but there's not actually any weapons on it by default. You'd have to remove weapons from the clone troopers and attach them there. But it's also very easy to just pop off of those jumper pieces too if you want. Very bare bones in here overall though. In addition to the seats, there's a little, like, fire extinguisher in the middle, and then a silver coffee mug on the side. In front of that very front seat, there is a sticker control panel piece, which looks like it has some sort of targeting computer, and I guess that's what's controlling the back turrets on this vehicle. And then in terms of space, obviously there's 5 actual seats here, but how many clone troopers can you actually fit if you're trying to fit as many as possible? Okay, so there's actually more seats than there is clone troopers in this set, so I had to substitute in some Ninjago figures in the back here just for demonstration purposes. But it looks like you can fit a total of 8 minifigures in the back if you really try to squeeze them in. Where I've got Cole and Lloyd here is not super comfortable, because they can't sit on the jumper pieces as naturally as you can in the front section, just because it intersects with these 2 seats right here, but they can still stand on those studs and fit. So I would still count those as applicable seats. And unfortunately, where the coffee mug is does get in the way of the panels a little bit. However, actually, maybe you could stand 2 more figures back right here? We're using Minecraft figures now, this is just what I have on me at the moment. Okay, yeah, they are still on studs, it's very cramped in there, but that actually brings up to a total of 10 figures in the back here, and I think that's about all, because you can't stand figures on any of these studs, because those would get in the way of the panels. So now let's close it up just to demonstrate that it can still close up with these figures on here. And there you go, look at that. So with 10 in the back and 5 in the front, that's a total of 15 figures you can fit in the interior of this vehicle. And then if you add 1 more for the gunner, and one more for the driver. That's a total of 17 characters that can fit somewhere on this vehicle. That is really, really cool that this troop carrier can actually carry so many troops. In terms of actual seats, there's only 7 or 9 if you count the gunner and the driver, but yeah, there's plenty of room in there to fit more characters, as you just saw. And that's about it for the main build of the ATST. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I can't really speak to the accuracy of this vehicle like in the movies and whatnot, because I'm not a super hardcore Clone Wars fan. However, just like as a toy, this is one of the most fun Star Wars sets I've put together in a very long time. Which I'm surprised I'm saying, because I really was not expecting to like this set that much, but just the number of troops it could carry, the way those legs work, and just how stable the entire thing is, I think it's a really well put together build. But of course that's not everything in this set, so now let's move on to the one-side build, and then the minifigures, and then I will give you my overall thoughts. The one-side build in this set is this little spider droid, and this guy is super cute. He's got like the old phone piece for eyes with red studs on them, and he's got these 4 individually posable legs, and I mean you guys can see how the hinges on these legs work. You can move them up, move them down, and then bend the leg at the knee, and then bend the leg again at the foot. The spider droid is held up by a trans-clear piece, so you can have actual legs up in the air and he'll still be balanced. And the entire head section can be moved up and down, as well as just like the little nose at the very front. He also has this little antenna coming out the back on another one of those ball joint pieces, and I think that's really effective. Yeah, I mean, he's nothing spectacular in terms of build, but I think he's really cute and he's a really fun inclusion, so I like that he's here. So here are the first 2 minifigures included in this set. We get Phase 2 Captain Scrimbelow, I mean Commander Cody, as well as a 2/12 clone gunner. Commander Cody was obviously a long-requested figure from LEGO, and now he is finally here in physical form, and in my opinion, I like him. He uses the traditional, just like, clone visor piece in orange. You actually get the full visor set in orange here, so you get 4 of this orange visor piece, as well as 4 of this orange antenna piece. So those are really cool if you want to attach them to other clone troopers. And then he has this all-new Phase 2 helmet, which has holes in the side where you can attach these pieces. The visor can be flipped up, so there you can see a full look at his helmet print, and I don't know how I feel about it. The orange on, like, his torso and legs and everything, I think does look really cool. However, these big tan lines on the top of his head I feel like are really out of place. I'm taking a look at, like, what Commander Cody has looked like both in the movies and in Clone Wars TV show, and while he does have these tan lines up there, I feel like these are a lot more vibrant and a lot more prevalent than they actually are in the movies. So I feel like those should have been smaller or just not there at all, because they kind of distract from the overall color scheme and really make him look like this guy over here. So I'm not a huge fan of that, especially with the visor flipped up, but when it's down they're not as noticeable, but still I wish they were done a little bit better. The torso and legs though are good. It looks like they went for somewhat of a battle damage look, which I'm not sure if people are going to be a fan of or not. Personally, I don't mind. I feel like it adds a little extra bit of detail, but I get like some people might just want a clean version of this character. But other than that, it's pretty much just standard clone trooper design. He's got the orange, he's got the white, and he looks pretty good all around. Turning him around the back, it looks like he has some sort of jetpack or something. Clone Wars fans, you can elaborate in the comments if you want. But yeah, the design looks really good. It's well detailed. Nothing jumps out to me as like immediately missing. I think this is a fairly good representation of this character. And then the 2/12 gunner is really good as well. You can see he's just sort of a generic Phase 2 clone in some ways, but he's got like this black armor over his chest piece, and then his helmet is battle damaged, and he's got these like tan marks on the top. Again, I think it looks pretty good, but at the end of the day, he is just another clone trooper, so I don't have a ton to say about him. There's how his back torso print looks. A little bit of metallic printing there, which I do quite like. And then he does also use the holes in the side of his helmet, even though he doesn't necessarily need them. I saw some people were upset about that. Personally, I don't mind. Because yeah, while like maybe in canon he doesn't need them, this set is made for kids playing with these toys. And I know when I was a kid I would like to customize these characters and like move around the accessories. So I prefer to have that option there so you can attach an accessory to him if you want. So I think the holes are fine and they work well. And then removing their helmets, there's a look at their face prints. The 2/12 clone just gets a generic clone face. However, Cody does actually get a new face print and doesn't just reuse that generic clone face, which is pretty cool to see. Obviously it's very similar, it's supposed to be very similar, but he does have a little scar over his eyebrow, and he has like a somewhat angrier face. This is really good, and adds a little bit of personality to him. So yeah, honestly, I think Cody's a great figure other than that little bit on the helmet that I'm not the biggest fan of. And then the 2/12 gunner is a pretty solid new variant. Then the next 3 figures in the set, these guys are once again all new for this set. We have 3 just generic 2/12 clone troopers. These guys are all exactly identical to each other, but I know this is another figure people have been wanting a remake of for a very long time. And having them in hand, yeah, once again, they're very good. They are pretty much just another clone trooper, but with orange paint markings on them. But the orange looks good and they fit in well with Cody. I think they chose the right shade of orange for them and everything. And I really like the new hip printing. I prefer it to the way they did the hips on the originals, where I think it was just a solid black hip piece. These look really good, really well detailed. Again, they do have that slight battle damage, which I'm not sure if everyone's going to be a fan of, but personally I don't mind it. it. And then if we turn these guys around, there's a look at their back torso prints, and then you can also see their accessories on the sides. 2 of them come with like these larger blasters, and then 1 just comes with the normal size blaster. If you're curious as to like what the Cody helmet accessories look like on these guys, there's the orange antenna, and there's Cody's visor. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if any of this is canon, like if they actually use any of this stuff in the show or in the movies, but I think it looks really good, and I think it's a fun option for kids to have, because yeah, it looks great. And then finally, if we remove the helmets on these guys, they all just use that same generic clone face that's been coming in sets for a few years at this point, but it is a really good face to represent the clones. I wouldn't expect them to have anything else. And then the final 3 figures in this set are just 3 generic battle droids. These are the same exact battle droids we've been getting since 1999. Nothing's different about them. Obviously, very good representations of these guys, hence why they haven't changed them. But I really don't have too much to say. It's just battle droids are battle droids. Cool, they come with gunmetal gray guns. I know those are pretty common nowadays, but I personally do not have too many of them because I don't buy a ton of Star Wars. So it makes me happy to see. It's more interesting than just the standard black guns. But yeah, not a ton to say on these guys. And so that brings us to the conclusion of this video. What are my overall thoughts on this set? I honestly am surprised to say I love this set a lot. As someone who is not the world's biggest Clone Wars fan, I love that I have this set. I really appreciate LEGO sending it to me. And this is one I can imagine having a ton of fun playing with as a kid. But even as an adult, I think this is a great display set as well. Has a really good figure selection and is all around just really solid. Now there is one factor that makes me hesitate to recommend this set, and that is the price. $140 for only about 1,100 pieces is a pretty steep asking price. However, it's not as bad as I thought when I first heard it, because building it up, it actually reminds me a lot of the Razor Crest set from The Mandalorian, in that it felt like a very similarly sized set. And I thought that one was bigger, but no, actually this set does have more pieces, and costs about $10 more. So is it a good price? No, not at all. But if you don't mind paying a slightly higher price, I would really recommend it. Because with all the prices going up, this is not the worst price set LEGO has. It's far, far from the best, but it's not atrocious. Like the Justifier, which is coming out in the same wave, has less pieces than this and is $40 more. That is a terribly priced set. This one, it's bad, but it could be worse. So do you need it? No, for sure not. But if it's something you're interested in anyway, and you have the money and you can afford it, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Just know going in, I guess, that it probably should have been a $100 set or $120 set. But if that's okay with you, yeah, by all means, pick it up. It's genuinely, it might be one of my favorite sets of the year, which I am super surprised to say. But no, I really love this one. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please press like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I do LEGO videos just like this one almost every day, so if you subscribe, you'll be the first to see them. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!